We're in the Sikha of Chelik Lamed Zayin, Parshas B'chukosai, page 79. The Rebbe here in the beginning of the Sikha asks a question regarding the fact that Torah, when it describes the schar for mitzvahs, the schar that it gives is Gashmi Zig schar. And the main question here is that included in the schar here is the schar of Lasad Lave. And regarding the schar of Lasad Lave, you find in the Psuk that the schar consists of things that are going to be begashmias, like, for example, Ilon Israk, the barren trees are going to produce fruits. Gevaldik, you want to have to, every tree down the block will have fruits. So the question here is, this is the mile of Lasad Lavai. This is what the Indian is, that the gashmias will be in abundance. Lasad Lavai, the Rambam says, Kol Madanim Mitzuyin Ka'afar, which means that all these kinds of physical delicacies will be so meaningless and insignificant the way we treat the dust of the earth today. As the Rambam famously says in Hilchos Shuvah, that this is not the main schar. It's just in order to give a person the time and the freedom and the ability to learn Torah and to do mitzvahs. But the Rebbe says, when you look in Chazal, in Gemara, Midrashim, and they put a big emphasis on the Gashmis, the Schar, it seems like that this actually is a focus. The Gashmis, the Schar, is the expression of the great level and the Schar that the Eibush is going to give us Lasad Lavai. How could that be? What's the pshat in this? Okay, Siv Beis. Similar to this question, the Mefarshim ask, as I just mentioned regarding the Schar, and then, Pasuk goes through a lot of details. Most of the things of the schar are all regarding the physical well-being of a person. So the question is, the main schar should be some kind of spiritual schar that a person will gain. That's obviously the real, the true schar. The Gashmi is the good comfort. The Gashmi is the good things. It's temporary. That's not the main thing. So why is the Torah saying that the schar is Gashmis? Mefarshim biru, and the Mefarshim answer, Lefi das Rambam, based on what the Rambam says, as I just mentioned there, B'kitzer, that Shekol Elo HaYehudim, that all of the promises should be Parshasenu, Ein on Ikar Schar. Even though this is the only thing the Torah says, but this is not the main schar. All of the good things mentioned in Parshas B'chukosai and Medabrim me'inyin hasaras hamaynim levad. It's just taking away obstacles of a person that wants to learn Torah. What this means is as follows: Shem tishma mitzvaisai. If you'll keep my mitzvahs, asir mimcha kol hamaynim. The Eibush says, I'll remove from you all those obstacles, k'mulchames, whether wars, chaloyim, sicknesses, illnesses, rav, hunger, v'yagain, or any other thing that brings a person to mourn, not to complain. So you'll have the opportunity to continue serving the Eibush without any obstacle. It's not mentioned in the pasuk. Why? Why take? Why is the pasuk only mentioning the side point, which is the removing obstacles? Why not focus on the ikar schar? So the answer is because the Torah is telling you that you're serving the Eibush to l'shma, not for schar. Torah doesn't tell you what the schar is. Even b'chlal, when you get to all mitzvahs at Torah, there's a handful of mitzvahs where the Torah spells out what the schar is. But derech klal, the Torah does not say a schar, because the Torah mitzvahs is supposed to be done l'shma. So Enochanami, the Torah doesn't mention ever the ikar schar. This concept that the Mefarshim say, quoted from the Rambam, is very similar to the way it is in the reverse, the opposite, but Minigay to an Aveda. What happens by Paray after he went and was Meshabed Yidin v'chulu v'chulu? So the Eibishter was the Eibishter hardens his heart that he can't send the Yidin out of Mitzrayim even if he wants, in order for the Eibishter to punish him for what he did. So just like it is by an Aveda, when a person does an Aveda once and again, the Eibishter makes it almost impossible for him to change his ways. And by the case of Pare, it was impossible. So to Fakert, when a person does a mitzvah and he does another mitzvah, then the Eibishter brings a person to a matziv where he'll be able to do another mitzvah, and nothing will stop him. He'll just do more and more mitzvahs. But that's not a schar though. That's just the matzav that the Eibishter brings a person to be able to do more and more mitzvahs. Oh, that's a good question. The emes is there are other sichos. There's a Brengen Tov Shemem Tes Parshas Ekevrei.
Not just schar mitzvah that it's gereres mitzvah.
Yeah.
Schar mitzvah is
Right.
The mitzvah lane is the pnimiyus aschar. Yeah. In other places, the Rebbe Taka says that the pshat on this Rambam here is not just hasaras hamaniyah. Das guf is the schar. Hayesa mitzvah is safsa v'chibur, and that's the highest level a person can come to. The schar is the fact that you're living in a time period where that safsa v'chibur is constant, and that safsa v'chibur is revealed and experienced and fully. So this is the greatest schar. There is no greater schar than this. Okay, but here though the Rebbe doesn't bring that pshat. Avol. So this is what it says in some mefarshim. Who are these mefarshim? As you see, the Barbanel, the Kli Yakar, and so on. Okay. Avol adas kama v'kama mefarshim medube b'parshazu al dvar haschar al kima Torah mitzvahs. Other mefarshim clearly say though that when the Torah talks about the schar, the pshat is kipshutai. This is the schar. It's Nisat Gishmechem Bitam is not just Hasaras Amaniyah giving you the possibility to fulfill mitzvahs. This is the actual schar. Why do they say this? Yeshleimar Shatam Shaschar Shenisparish Bekosef. Why is it that the Torah only speaks about the Gashmistic schar and it leaves out the main, seemingly the Ruchnistic schar? Move on back, then be a shaila. So the answer to this is with another question. Lama hercha kasav b'tiur schar limud Torah v'kiyum mitzvahs. Why b'chlal, if we're following what these mefarshim say, that the pasuk actually is telling you the schar? So then why taka? Why is the pasuk going into such lengthy details describing what the schar for learning Torah and doing mitzvahs is? Ubefrat shetachlis ha'aveda yaveda l'shma. The point is a person should come to serve the Eibishter l'shma. Al tu akavod amshamshim sarav amanas l'kabel pras. You should serve the Eibishter like a servant that serves his master, not looking for any reward or gain. So what are you going to say? All these psukim is speaking about an individual that's on a level that he wouldn't do the mitzvah without being promised a schar. The psukim of the Torah is for every single yid, including for the tachlis of a yid, which is to come to do a mitzvah l'shma. So Torah is Torah's emes. It's not an inyan that the Torah is saying this to a yid that's not on the real darga. I mean, you could say there's other places where the Rebbe says you can say it. Torah la reiv tadaber. When the Torah says what it says, it speaks to the majority. So since majority of yidden need a motivation of schar, so the Torah says the schar. But the Rebbe doesn't accept that. The Rebbe doesn't bring that here. If al pi Torah, the correct way to serve the Eibishter is shalei manas lekabel pras. So what it says in Torah has to be ois gehalten aliba de emes. The genuine, the ultimate level of serving him. So why does it say old schar? Hello, the answer is actually in continuation the Rebbe here talks about the Zinyan of Reiv Teda, but I jumped the gun over here. I thought this was in a different place, but the Rebbe explains it right over here. Let's see. Hello. Since to serve the Eibishter l'shma is a very high level, it takes a lot of work to get there. Rambam says towards the end of Hilchos Shuvah, it's a very high level, and even the greatest chacham doesn't necessarily reach this. In the beginning, you serve the Eibishter shalei l'shma. U'kamayim razal is the expression that says in Gemara and in Rambam, lo'olam yaseh gadol b'Torah v'mitzvahs af shalei l'shma. Lo'olam, that a person begins serving the Eibishter shalei l'shma. Lefichach, this is a quote from the Rambam as well. Kishumalamdim esaktanim, when you teach children, or v'sanoshim, klal ami aretz, or women, or ami aretz that are not motivated to learn, ein melamdim oisem ela lavid miyira. So you teach them and that they should do it, knowing that otherwise there'll be a consequence, or kadei lekal b'schar, or they promise a certain reward, and then achetar bedaiton cholu till they get to a high level of das, when they're able to learn and do l'shma. Okay. So the nekuda here that the Rebbe is saying is, so this lashon of the Gemara, it's a famous lashon, right? That the Rebbe is medayik in other places that lashon of the Gemara is lo'olam. What does the word lo'olam mean? Lo'olam means you really can't skip the step. This step of learning first, Shalei Lishma, and then from there you come to Lishma, this is the Seder, La'olam. Person is going to say that he's going to start being Mekayim Torah mitzvahs with a child, only Lishma. It's impossible. Teva, the way the Eibishter designed it is La'olam, that the haschala of the way you teach is Dafka Shalei Lishma. There's a reason for it. There's a kavanah in that gufa. It's not bepashtus, it's a chesaron. It's because of an immaturity. But the fact that a child, the chatchila, is immature, who created that immaturity? The Eibishter. So you can't say that, it's a chesaron, that nebuch, we have no choice, we have to teach him Shalei Lishma. There has to be a kavanah in this. Never explains it in other places. But the fact is, B'poil, Chazal say, this concept of Shalei Lishma is not something which is a b'diavad. It's B'poil, this is the Seder. That children, Nashim Amiyah Aretz, and a big segment of Klal Yisrael could only do Torah mitzvahs on this level. Not only that, serving the Shema, even a Chacham Gadol may not be Zeichen. So Mekivin Shatera L'Reiv Tedaber. So Klal is when Torah says what it says, it's following the majority. For most Yidden, learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, is not without a promise of a reward. Therefore, the Torah gets into all of this to explain for the Reiv that need to hear about the schar in order to be motivated to do Torah mitzvahs. That's the answer. Just like it is regarding B'chlal promising the schar, the same is regarding what the schar consists of. Most Yidden on this level that need that schar, the schar they're looking for is not to have another piece of Gan Eden or some other ruchnizik schar. So, here, this is something that everyone grasps and everyone has a taste for this. You don't have to explain it. This is what will motivate to fulfill Torah mitzvahs. Same thing is also what's the big deal about the schar of lasad lavai? B'nisim v'neflois b'gashmis shiur, with the gashmis the that will happen at that time. So what's the reason for this? Ki gam la'asad lavai lo yagia kol echad ve'echad teikif la'sagan alas b'schar ruchni. So here the Rebbe Bavanas, you might think, la'asad lavai. So all the Klal Yisrael, even those that until today couldn't do Torah mitzvahs l'shma, will be elevated to a higher level. But the Rebbe says, no, not in the beginning. Right when Mashiach comes, then not everybody will be on such a level. Not everybody is going to experience the chatchila and appreciate the ruchnius, and definitely not the level of Aveda Lishma, Aveda Ma'ava. Elagamos, Yis Seder Aliyas, Mechail Al Chayil. Even Lasad Lavai, to come to the Shleimus of Avedas Hashem Lasad Lavai, it will be step by step. Even then, a child born will not serve the Eibishter L'chatchila L'shma. He'll have to go level by level and going higher in his Aveda until he comes to the level of Ava, doing it L'shma. Even for that time period, it's necessary to have the schar for Torah mitzvahs in order to be motivated to fulfill Torah mitzvahs in that time period. Okay, so now inside the Sikha here, the Rebbe is talking about then. That when the Torah says the schar gashmi regarding lasad lavai, it's because even then, after Mashiach comes, most people are not going to be on a ruchni level right away that they won't need to have the schar. Okay, but there's another point also that we're learning these psukim of Torah today that is notifying us about the schar that's going to be in the future when Mashiach comes. So that the Rebbe addresses. Yeah. Then lasad lavai. Even then lasad lavai, Dreiv of Klal Yisrael will not be in the beginning of the Tkufa of Yimei Mashiach on a level to serve L'shma. So, and Chatchila, they're going to need Schar Gashmi in order to motivate them to do Torah mitzvahs. And then eventually they'll grow out of it, level by level, to get to a higher level where they won't need the Schar Gashmi. But Chatchila will be necessary. So therefore the Torah says, even regarding the matzav of Lasad Lavai, Chekayse Telecho, Nesati Gishmechem V'itam, or all the other in Yonam of Schar.
So it's not here that going back that these Yehudim are these
A real Yehudim for
that
Gashmias, yeah.
these brachas from the cases going on lost.
Yeah.
Because over here he started learning.
Goes on Bisman Hazeh.
Yeah.
It's two different pratim here. Both. What is
Right.
There's the B'chol Kaisa Telech when you get to the Gashmi Zigischar today. And then there's also what it says in the Pesukim that's negated to us. Love it. And one second, one more order. Let's just if you have to go, I'm not stopping you, but I just want to see one more order.
Yeah.
Order 23.
Yeah.
Naisaf ala Pashich and Egel is Manazeh. The other detail over here is that the Torah talking about the Schai. You see order 23.
Yeah.
It's also negaya today to know this. Why? Every Yid has a obligation to believe in the coming of Mashiach. It's not enough to believe, but also hope and await is coming. Most Yidden, according to their condition today, will not be inspired to await the coming of Mashiach properly and fully. He started telling a Yid that lost love, was zayin, nigla kveda vayver kabasar. He has no asage b'chlal what you're talking about. It's hard to be mechake to this. You have to be a baldarge, a balmadrege to be mechake. I mean, that's the Rebbe geschrieben. I mean, those schreien at Muslim mit anemes that should really bother you. But the Torah knows al arev to daber. The most Yidden are not going to get that. So therefore, So therefore, the Torah tells us the Gashmi is the Geschar that today we should daven for Mashiach.
I actually have more of a machak and mitzvah for Mashiach more for the Inyanim Ruchim than the Inyanim Gashmi.
Avos.
Because the Inyanim, the Elm has a Gashmi, the whole Gashmi is
It's a tzaddik.
No, not that. If we're finally going to get Mashiach, so what's Mashiach going to do?
Noch ein Apple, noch ein...
And
was ist der Meister? No, Chassidus hat sehr stark reingehackt in den Kopf, dass etwas ist durchgegangen.
And I'll tell you, it would be good for Mashiach to come as long as I can tell us and that part of instead of having one tree, you have 20 trees that are growing apples.
Listen, you can have like the Muslims. You can have
Or the man, the man that we never knew what it tastes like. So you're not fault for that.
Yeah.
Soll schon kommen, das ist dicker. Gashmis and Ruchni is Gam Yochad.
If you wouldn't tell people, they have nothing to say.
Correct. We learned in the Sikha before about this, that the Rebbe pointed out that the way the Rambam describes Mashiach in Hilchas Malachim, and the way he describes in Hilchas Shuvah, in Hilchas Malachim, the Rambam doesn't take it as far as he does in Hilchas Shuvah, because he knows that over here, he's going to tell you that you have an obligation to believe and want it, and there's certain things you can't want until you get it, because you don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. Like telling a child to want to have something which only as an adult will appreciate. He doesn't. Like, what are you talking about? And if you were talking about something which is so be'ein areich, what's the mechaka lebiyase? Okay, so therefore the Torah is talking to us on our level. You should want Mashiach because all sick people will be healed. You should want Mashiach because no salt is and everything. And it's Eisgalt now Torah. It's not just a b'diavad. The pasuk is saying this. That's what the pshat Rebbe is saying here. Oh, okay, yeah, true. But it's also it's a pshat.
I mean, yeah, it's a tiger.
Yeah, it's one Indian. Okay. Okay.